Okay. Going to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, November 6th. Do a roll call.
Commissioner Ernst,
Here.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, and Commissioner Wright.
Here. Changes to the agenda. We are going to change one thing. We are going to move number 2 to number 1 and number 1 down to number 2. That's okay with everybody? Yep. Any other changes to the agenda? No. Okay, and we'll open it up to public requests.
All right. Good afternoon, folks. Tom Thayer, 4821 North Dixie Highway in beautiful Boca Raton. And of course, I'm here. We're kind of getting back in a groove a little bit. We've been out of sync for the last few months. Anyway, from the Federation of Boca Raton Homeowners Association, tomorrow morning, another excellent program, maybe one of the best we've ever had. And it'll be Andrea Virgin. And if you haven't heard Andrea Virgin speak, she does a fantastic job. And she's the CEO of the Center for Arts and Innovation, which is the new performing arts proposal for the north end of Meisner Park. So it's a massive project, and they've already got some of the work done with the city, and funding is the next big obstacle, of course. And the other part of the program will be art in public places. And Veronica Hatch will be addressing that along with past Boca Raton Commissioner Andrea O'Rourke. So come out tomorrow. Doors open at 8 a.m. The program starts at 8:30. We'll see Craig there. I see him peeking around the corner.
I'll be there.
And everybody come out. It's all free. We're in the downtown community center. Both portions of the Silver Palm Room. If you want to bring your own coffee thing and fill it up on our coffee, we always have lots and lots of coffee left over. So come out and enjoy it. And tomorrow morning, bright and early, community center. Thank you very much.
Hello, Commissioners. Robert Duquette, 5351 Northwest 3rd Terrace. As you're all aware, there's a great deal of discussion about the district going into the concessionary business on long-term projects that you have with the new North Park project with the pickleball. And if that's the way you're going to go, I think that's fine. But I think there's also other more valuable properties that you might have, especially Ocean Strands property when it comes to hotel developments. And I think you really need to discuss at what price you're going to be concessioning out this property on a per square foot or per revenue basis. I know you've had some discussions potentially with the people that are looking at the pickleball, but what representatives that you have that are experts at legal issues and pricing of real estate. I think that some people I know who've been here before, especially some of the golfers, were somewhat surprised that there was discussion of having a concession for the golf driving range, and it was going to be pretty much free, the property value to the concessionaire. So again, I haven't heard anything in discussion about that, and maybe it'll be a part of the discussion when you get into the contract for the concessionaire for the pickleball. But I would hope that you would have some type of fair market value that the district is getting for this concession agreement. But again, this is a very big change within the operations of the Beach and Park District that you haven't done in the last 40 years since you've been in existence. So I would hope that you would look at this on a comprehensive basis and look at all your properties if this is actually the route you're going to go. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
Sil Ciliberti, 6200 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Boca Raton. Hi, team. I'm thrilled to see significant progress in the pursuit of converting the 212 acres to a special park. My prior speech, I spoke of free outdoor pickleball, but upon further reflection, perhaps a training area such as a wall where players can skill drill is a better, unique attractor factor and would complement the Boca Paddle Club business model. Just seems like we have enough outdoor basketball. I often speak of sustainable energy and ideas for North Park. I have already reached out to most of you to discuss specific aspects of some of these concepts. One of them is leveraging the east-west layout of North Park to maximize solar energy utilization and provide vast amounts of shade for the trails, parking lots, as well as supplying power to run the park and the paddle club. They have EV stations at Delray Tennis Center, but they have the wrong ones. They're not aligned with the latest advancements in solar power technology, nor emphasize what's becoming the standard North American charging system, better known as NACS. I understand it's easy to propose my grandiose ideas, but I'm committed to taking action. I'm volunteering to lead the effort in implementing any of these ideas, as some already are in the local area. And what makes this innovative is putting them all together, putting a number of them together, as well as other ideas, notably companies like the Boring Company. They have demonstrated their ability to execute large-scale underground tunnels, such as the one in Vegas. And they could do what's needed in North Park in a single day. Furthermore, I'd like to highlight the pressing need for a sound barrier, preferably a green one, to mitigate the noise from passing trains, which is crucial for the park and the tranquil trails on the drawing board. How much? I think I speak for everyone here when I say, I don't know, but I'm prepared to volunteer my services to explore any of these options to help support any one of you to help this project make a huge success. Thank you for all your continued support and collaboration. Together, I think we could turn these ideas into a reality and make significant progress in making North Park one of the greenest parks ever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Evening. Larry Milkey, 6200 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Boca Chica. I'm here to continue to remind you, all of you, about the importance of a security barrier wall between the condos and the park. It's important to our community. I have discussed this point before, along with and I've given some photos. And I don't want this point to be forgotten. I know that everything is money driven. So I really don't want to hear, like, when it's all said and done, oh, we didn't think about a fence, but we gave you no trespassing signs. So please, we need that barrier over there, fence with live trees in front of it or whatever. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alice Mio. I live at 94 Southwest 4th Street in Boca Raton. I'm here at the request of Coach Angelo Sands. And I just want to communicate the need or the desire for additional resources for junior golfers, particularly adolescents, teenagers, children who are learning the sport of golf, in terms of additional resources in Boca Raton. So there are camps, there are classes that they can take. But for example, there's a program called PGA Junior League where the children can competitively learn the game of golf and train at different golf courses here in Boca Raton. That runs in the fall and in the spring, but not in the summer, and not in the period of time between fall and spring, so the winter. So there is a desire in terms of parents who have young children who are learning the game of golf. to have resources available through the city of Boca Raton. So, thank you.
Angelo Sands, 7348 East Country Club Boulevard. Alice, thank you. Okay. I've always been about kids from 1968 to 2017, 49 of those years, 45 of them, I spent either coaching and teaching. Since I retired 6 years ago, I'm still doing it. It's great. Kids are great. I love to be with them. We just had a Timber Tech tournament. We had over 70 young golfers. Florida Atlantic University men's and women's golf team, Kaiser University men's and women's golf team, Palm Beach Atlantic men's and women's golf team, FAU cheerleaders. They're great. Unfortunately, we only hear about the bad ones. You know that as well as I do. There's so many kids out there. Like Ella said, her two little kids are deep, they love the game. And the facilities available for them are most of them are commercial and they do a great job. Believe me, they do a great job as far as leagues and things like that are concerned. But when the snowbirds are here, it's really difficult. It's really difficult for the kids to go to a place and play 3 or 4 holes or hit balls. That gets expensive at a lot of places. I guess I'm old fashioned. I kind of always visualize parks as kids. And I think that's important is that, one of the reasons I'm so thankful Alice is here is that most young parents can't get here. In fact, her husband was supposed to be here, but he couldn't get here. He was working. Okay. And so what happens is that, you hear from us old guys. So I just think it's important to always remember that Beaches Parks is in the parks business. As far as Boca Chica is concerned, most of you know that that they're living there, see me out there working. I just got a whole group of people. We talk and have a great time. And, this all started in 2016, Keep Golf in Boca, when Ocean Breeze closed. And the residents of Boca Chica have been exceptional as far as attending meetings. And when I tell them that we're looking now at 2015, 2025, 26, okay. See, I told you I was old, okay. They just kind of roll their eyes and, they're disappointed. They're disappointed. They've done the battle for 6 years and now they're at the caboose. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, Coach, a question.
Sure.
So, look, I think we're all here because of kids.
Yeah.
And so that the spirit of that is essential for a lot of the things that we do. My question to you is, and we do have golf still as a component. It's not what it was before, but it's
Sure.
coming. It may be a little longer, but it's coming. My question to you is, I suspect that the city does not have full programming over at their big Boca golf course. It's very much a championship course, but from a kid's perspective, is there any kids program or capability at Red Reef, or is it just totally preoccupied with?
No, Alice can help me with this. Alice has kids that have played at Red Reef in their junior program during the summer. Alice? By the way, her 2 kids, the reason she's here is my wife's babysitter.
So it's, they can play matches at Red Reef through PGA Junior League. And in fact, my son played one yesterday. So that's how it's, there may be other programs, but that's the one I'm familiar with. Yes, PGA Junior League is national. And so there's just different locations that run it. And so the Boca one is run out of, it's Newell Golf. It's a Boca racket, golf and racket club. It's across from Costco. Yes, exactly. And so you can play matches either at that course or at Red Reef through PGA Junior League.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Okay. Is that it? That's it. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yep.
Or button here, I push this thing here. Leoniger 21711 Cromwell Circle, right down the street here. I just came today. I didn't know it was gonna be a formal meeting like this, but I just act as a conduit for the roller hockey players that are at the play at the roller rink. There was recently installed a new matting for the futsal. We got mixed reviews on it as far as like roller hockey. I like it. Some guys don't like it. But we were, just curious if, going forward, because I'm not familiar with everything that goes on in parks here, that if it really would be nice, probably even for the futsal players that it was put in for, that if possibility going forward, we could have a roof for that place. For the shade, there's a possibility of doing it with solar panels. I heard somebody mention that. That would be cool, a solar pergola over top of that. And the other thing was that I sort of heard or kind of thought I heard something about, they were thinking about maybe even putting in an enclosure over there, like having an inside facility. If that's the case, I would like to represent the hockey players that it would be possible to put, have the rink inside there just as is, like in similar, like have the basketball court, the futsal, but have it on the inside. If that's a possibility, if that's what your plan is going forward, that I'm not familiar with. But definitely if a roof would be a lot nicer, as far as like, being able to skate on that and so forth. So that's what the guys have expressed to me. So I just wanted to bring that to the meeting today. Just basically, and right.
Thank you so
Okay, thanks
much.
a lot.
Appreciate it. Okay, anybody else? Nope. All right, we will go ahead and close public requests and do approval of the minutes of the previous board meeting held on October 16th.
Ruth. Commissioner Ernst? Okay, Commissioner Engel? Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright? Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to regular business. We'll move number 2 up to number 1. So we'll do the North Park design discussion first. Brianne.
Tonight we have representatives from Miller Lake as well as the Butters Group to present what they've collaborated on to make a more cohesive project.
Lumi Fuentes with Miller Lake. Thank you. Okay, so last time we met, we kind of had an update on North Park, and then our Butters group presented the presentation for the paddle club. And we came into collaboration since we last met and kind of designed it where the trails area kind of looked more cohesive and it works more of a unified park on there.
So this is pretty much the same building location in the sense of it's south to north, blocking the court north.
Yeah, let me see if I could turn it so I could see, so I could present better. Okay, so the building location would be in the same placement for the same abilities to kind of do the noise reduction for the courts out there. Now, what we did change was that our parking area, as you could see, no, this doesn't work. Hold on. Okay. So you could see here the parking area on the trails area got expanded. So this could easily facilitate the multi-purpose trail and then pedestrians going to the park to kind of be closer to the trails on this area. And then these two driveways would be connected, as you could see here in this connection. And then it allows for the multi-purpose trail to go in between, and it just would be one crossing between that driveway. And this would be heavily vegetated and it kind of seamless from the Padel Club into the North Park area, as you could see. And then the parking would kind of surround into the park to the back and allow for more of an urban kind of art garden in the front as well. And then that would kind of connect more of the public art that we have in the other side of North where the hills is as well. So this looks more seamless and then it's more integrated. And as you can see, the red dashed around it is really the area for the club to be. So that would be, they're probably going to run it around the same time we run the parks. And then if we need to close that for security purpose, that would be closed as well.
Okay, I was gonna start.
So for the outdoor pickleball courts, does it matter play wise if it's east-west versus north-south?
So because ideally, if it didn't have a building right there, you would really face it north to south, right? It wouldn't be east to west of a location, but you have the building right there. So the sun wouldn't be so much of an issue just because of the building structure being right there. And being it in this orientation, it continues to buffer that noise of all those complaints, with pickleball being a bit loud from the nearby residents.
But there's no way to orientate the outdoor pickleball courts north-south?
Yeah, that's more of a question, for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Davis, Boca Paddle. So the idea would be that we would try to orient them north-south. So moving this if we can. Have so we can have the north-south orientation. She's right that we will get a lot of shade from the building, obviously in the afternoon when the sun's moving to the west, but it's still better to have the north-south. And so that's the more ideal plan. So we're going to change that.
Plans to put shade structures at all over those outdoor pickleball courts so they would get more use in the summertime?
So the original plan was to keep these as true, outdoor courts with no covering. But we thought about as room for expansion, if this facility does, continue to grow and we need even more courts, the thought was to actually add additional courts that had, some type of covered awning over them. But the idea was to keep these open.
Oh, Malcolm Butters, also Boca Paddle, 1492 Thatch Palm. The other thing that we did, and we've been working tremendously with the Miller Lake guys, what we wanted to do is take into consideration some of the comments from the previous commissioners about expansion. So you could see we're not obstructing any further potential uses to the south of us. I think Commissioner Ernst and some other commissioners were thinking down the road, you might do something and would we, essentially block the road. And by orienting and doing the parking lot, we left there's a lot of optionality for the district to do whatever they want to do with that land to the south. And again, like we said, we kept the building and the outdoor pickleball courts on the east side in between the railroad tracks, because we think it would minimize not only the visual aspect, but the noise potentially. And I think we did a tremendous job. If you look at the site plan, we bend we curve the parking lot around the building. So you don't have the sea of parking lots like we originally had planned. So again, tremendous landscaping, but we've also interconnected our parking, like Miller Lake said, with the Parks District parking. So they could be used not only by our customers, but potentially visitors to the park. At the same time, we kept that pedestrian art walk out in the front of the building. So visually, I think it would be beautiful. And then it connects beautifully also with the master plan for the North Park District. And this incorporates a lot of the future potential road work that's anticipated by the city for the expansion, of the road, and also the tunnel system potentially that you're looking to put in. So
That's my other question. So the road what is designed there?
This is kind of, and I'll highlight this, but this road right here, it's looking at it was the preliminary kind of what the city gave us, that they provided to FDOT and the FEC track as well. So this is kind of going on that we always planned to actually have here. I can show you this connection right here. That was for the maintenance yard, the maintenance building. So we've always planned for that connection to be part of that in the future once that road is open. So that's kind of the point that when we coordinated that needed to be maintained, thinking ahead of it. And it has to be around this location just because of the driveways coming in from Second Ave. And then that's probably going to be, we can't push it more just because of the crossing. So thinking in the future, where would they allow us for that driveway? The limits kind of go towards that area.
But so like, who's responsible to build that road? Is that us that's responsible?
No. By all means, this is just kind of conceptual thinking ahead of it, but the road will not be built by us. In reality, all that will be built at this time would be this. Let me highlight it for a second. This parking area. And then this driveway over here will just connect this, and this driveway will not be part of this space at all. That road is in the future. Now,
will we be able to connect the parking area on that side to the parking area on that side and have that little walkway to connect the walking paths?
Yes.
Will that be part of it
yes.
as well?
It could either be a safety crossing on the top or ideally a tunnel.
So it'll be an unfinished road for a while.
It would be exactly. So right now what we're presenting is accommodating both now and the future. And that's kind of what the city required us to kind of plan for. They just wanted us to keep in mind that road would be potentially open in the future.
And it's going to be a 4-lane road or a 2-lane road?
What I saw, it would just be a 2-lane road. Well, 2-lane,
either side?
Yeah, 4 lanes in
So 4
total.
lanes.
Yeah, 4 lanes with a median in the middle. Same kind of conditions up on Clintmore that got the same conditions. So far from what they had provided.
I think what's also nice about this plan is, we are not dependent on the city's time schedule. We took the Miller Lake plan. We can move forward, meaning we, North Park and the Boca Paddle, and put in all this. And then whenever the city does get, their plans together and their money together, whatever, they will improve, the roadway. But we can move forward. We could stay on our schedule, and we're not, being held hostage by the city. I don't like to use that word, but you know what I'm saying, we could go on our own path at our own time.
Yeah, I heard you talk about the tunnel. Would you indicate where that was? Because the crossover you talk about from the maintenance down by the facility, is that where the tunnel would go in, or up further to the west?
Yeah. It would be this.
I see it. Okay.
But
that would be the initial
road will end for us. This is the driveway, a driveway here is this one.
So what are your plans as to when you're putting the tunnel in?
For now, we're just gonna do a multi-purpose top on top. Remember the driveway, this wouldn't be, vehicle access. So you wouldn't really have from here on, you wouldn't have that.
All right, well, I'm concerned about relying on the city to do that on a timely basis without disrupting everything else. So.
Right, but there's nothing, there's no street to cross even at the initial.
Understood. But there's no better time to drop in a tunnel when there's nothing there than when there's nothing there. And that's what I'm suggesting is that why would you want to wait until you're doing the road
Well,
construction?
because we've always kind of discussed that. That's really the city to bring in that road construction and the tunnel. That's kind of what we planned for in the master plan cost wise was we don't know. If you put a tunnel now, we don't know what their plans are for that road. So they might not allow the tunnel.
Okay, well, I'm hoping I'm still living when they put the roadway through there.
I am Martin Grimbank with Miller Lake. Also, for the tunnel to be installed, the road will have to be elevated over it slightly. So again, we're not really improving. We're improving the piece of road that's already there just to widen it enough to be the required 12-foot lanes. And then it ends at the driveway connections to the north and south. Right. So anybody wanting to cross from one side of the park to the other, there's no road for them to cross. They can just
Oh,
go
I
right.
understand that because
Yeah.
I'm very familiar.
So
with
we'd
that
have
area
to
there.
elevate, the existing road is basically tear it out, elevate it, and then in the future, the city would again tear it out and do whatever they're doing.
Well, that's the first time hearing that the city was going to pay for it. It's the reason I'm asking these questions. And if that's the case, I'm all for that. I just don't want them to forget that responsibility before they start putting the roadway on. And then we got to go back and cut across the roadway to do that. So
Hold on, what, Bob, I'm confused. Who said that city's paying for a tunnel?
I don't know.
Because I don't think I
No,
ever heard that.
No. It was when we did have the joint meeting, it brought up into consideration and there was a discussion for it. Now, my best is that all of us would have to advocate for a tunnel for it to be the best possible solution. And if they are doing the road construction, then that would be allowed for. Now, they have not agreed to pay for the tunnel, but it will be ideal for us to suggest them as they're doing that road construction for that to be a better possibility than the regular road crossing.
yeah, well, as I said, that was the first time hearing the city was going to pay for it. And if they were not, then I couldn't think of a better time to put this in there than, having that discussion so that as the construction goes across there, that will halt us from access from north to the south if that tunnel wasn't already in there. So I just want to clarify that so that we don't end up with two different parks for 2 or 3 years while the city puts in the road.
Yeah, we can look into that. The other thing is if the city decides not to do anything with the road, then there'd be a tunnel that was paid for but not needed. So.
Okay,
we
which
have to
comes first, chicken or the
coordinate that.
egg? I get it. But I'm just telling you is that I know how the best laid plans can be mislaid. And so I don't want to have that possibility happen. We end up with an issue there.
Yep.
So we've got enough time to cover that topic well.
And the whole entire idea is that we bring this up to them as we're doing the site plan. So that's part of it. That's the coordination that is to be done with the city and us to see what is best for the future. Because they did ask us to look at options and possibilities for this.
Go for it.
Go ahead. Cindy. It's Craig, hold on, Susie's.
Susan?
Sure.
How many parking spaces are there going to be in that particular area when you start out?
So required by surface call for the paddle club, it would really be 150 spaces. Okay. And then in our end on the parking area would be around 80 to 100 spaces, which is more than really what is required for the park activities on that particular side. Remember, we still have more parking on the other.
Has the traffic study been done and is that taken into consideration for the parking and everything that how are we doing with that?
The parking is based on the code. The traffic study is already contracted, so they're gonna start doing traffic counts in the next couple of months. That's required by the city also, and we're looking at the intersections also to see if or how they're impacted.
Affected by the traffic study at all?
Right, the parking is based on the code requirements.
Okay.
We just do minimum as possible. I prefer as minimal as possible in terms of like heat island and stuff like that.
Well, we do remember that we are accommodating for this with swales in our parking areas, and as much as possible, wherever we can, we just put instead of a pavement.
Right, yeah, and on the north side of the park, which is the busier where the dog park is and all that, the overflow parking is actually grass. So with I think it's what's the fence? Right, with a split rail fence to delineate it, but it's grass, so there'll be a gate blocking it off when it's not needed, and when it's needed, they can open the swing gate and allow people there to minimize the pavement. It looks like grass, so
It
maybe.
looks like grass, and it was probably right. Yeah.
And we did have it pointed out, delineated. But it's just gonna be stable.
I'll make sure that like we show that to you guys as well. And there are swales, as I mentioned. We're not doing just 10 feet islands. It's actually 20 feet of an island just to create those swales.
Hope that Mr. Butters will reconsider shade covers for the outdoor pickleball center. We just heard tonight from our friends at the roller hockey that shade covers, we're doing everywhere and we're looking at it. And I just think it's your architect said he could do it, so I hope you can do it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I will we're in the initial stages,
Yep.
Commissioner, so our first goal is to get the footprint in the correct area in conjunction with Miller Lake. We want to make sure the board is happy too, in terms of an overall design. We're working with Mr. Gorin, our attorney has been in contact with Mr. Gorin, just introductory, starting to exchange papers and all that. So yeah, we're just moving it along, but yeah, we're
Okay.
more to come.
Okay,
Commissioner,
good.
more to come.
So let's kind of continue on the more to come part. At the last meeting, first of all, I'm delighted that the two are collaborating to get a common design together, because this is a common park. So I just never could envision two separate parks. But one feature that I think was a takeaway from the last meeting was the need for family friendly. And a box building is probably the easiest thing in the world to build, but there's some design to it that you can't really see here architecturally. Is the family friendly part of it coming in somewhere else?
Again, I think the
So-
family friend, I think we touched on it before too. A lot of the family friendly is on the inside of the box, as you like to say.
Right.
We have kids activities, we have camps, we have instructional things, we have on the outdoors. I don't think our goal was necessarily to bring the basketball courts and, the playgrounds and everything. I think the park is going to be very family friendly too. It's adjacent, and, at some point, if hopefully the YMCA comes into the picture, I think it's a collaborative effort. So I understand the need, and again, we're all for family friendly. As you know, the ice rink has a lot of, has skating, has hockey, it has the bumper cars. So that's all of it inside, and that's to me family friendly. I have, the dance school in there. So we're going to have a similar concept where we're going to have a lot of family friendly. You might not see on the outside, but a lot of the activities will take place on the inside, and it, of course, the park is going to be the most family friendly.
Yep. So to that degree, is that, Brianne, we spoke a little bit about different options. Is that coming later?
Blue Lake is working on some of those other options to incorporate in the park.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be a separate presentation.
Yes, that those types of amenities would be considered. And I mean, I just kind of wanted to highlight over here. Remember, there is a playground, and the reason why we wanted to protect that multi-purpose path is for that connectivity, so the kids could, come in walking into.
you'll come back to us at a later date with some of the components of what the family-friendly part, is that gonna be like in the next 6 months or?
No, not in the next 6 months.
Okay.
We're talking about a month.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
we,
that's
we
good.
have
I'm-
to, we have to keep on track. We need to submit for site plan
It's a site plan.
approval, so.
Okay, I just didn't want to get anything lost in the translation for all of it. And then lastly, and it's really a discussion for our group, I heard the resident talk about security. We're implementing security cameras, at Sugar Sand. I guess there's two thoughts in this whole process, and what kind of drives me on it is, does it cohesive? Does this stuff all fit together really nicely, and does it look right? Do all our parks make sense in what they're doing? So as we're designing this, to me, the essential part is thinking in your security features. So you are, putting the underground cables in now when you're building the parking lots and doing all that. And also, even the kind of the lead certification review. They're not all components I agree to, but I'm not an expert on it. And should we have an expert, review these plans and say, well, you didn't consider a little bit more, could we do a little bit more? And the last thing is just an architect that is across all our parks is, to me, it's nice, but there's probably, when you go into Sugar Sand, to me, it's got an impressive entrance to it that gives it a common theme. And that's kind of important. And are we thinking about that across all this whole design of the park? And should we consider, an architect that would make sure that these things have a common and this is Boca Raton, and so I think the expectations are great. So should we consider something like that? That's really an open question, not for you, but for our.
I did want to add, because we are considering, part of our scope is branding and theming. So that's in the works, with the signage, right? To be cohesive on that. And we are coordinating that with Brianne, what is located and kind of your trash receptacles, the look and feel of your other parks, especially Sugar Sand, and how we can match that, because we do want it to be cohesive. Now, we do want it to stand out as North Park and all the signage and all that. The same kind of entrance features is what's really going to be highlighted. Like Juan started with that, and the whole entire idea of that area is that the signage, and it will be mimicked across where the maintenance area is. So this space, we actually kind of shifted the parking. Yeah. So it would be, that's kind of that whole entire idea too for the signage. So we are thinking of that, and Brianne could kind of elaborate on it, but part of it is branding and theming. We have that in our scope.
It's really nice to see more of it. The only branding and theme since I've been on this board is a split rail fence and a green sign that says, this is the name of the park. And to me, when you're spending millions of dollars on it, it's not a trailer for a outhouse type thing. It's got to have some real, character to it. And the only thing I've seen of real character is the pickleball center. When Juan, he came in and presented it, I like the green. He had a concept that was very green to it, and that looked good to me. But I want to make sure it all fits together, and then when we're done with it, it makes sense,
Time as we go through the development process and the design process, and we work through these things, and we work with the Butters Group, and we work with Miller Lake. I think that is part of Miller Lake scope, is to bring the 4 quadrants together, and but I think it takes time. You don't just smack a sign on it and say, here's our design and here's our brand.
I think we could do too, and perfect timing for Juan to come in, of course, because we had this conversation, Commissioner, when we had our meeting last week, and Juan was talking about kind of coming in with common elements with the pickleball facility, with even the maintenance facility across the street. So it looked like one project, right? It's not just a metal building that's a maintenance shed, and then we have, like you say, a box. This is going to look like Juan had a lot of ideas, and talked about the entry elements, of course, that we were trying to create. So if we had, let's say, murals, I'm just making up, or a green wall on our building, the maintenance facility might have a similar theme on it. And wait, Juan.
Good evening, Juan Caicedo, 7,000 North Highway. I'm sorry, A little late. Yeah. Anyways, no, yeah, what we talked about is when we got together with the civil engineers, we said we cannot just plop a building in here and create no space, no sense of arrival, no sense of community. So what we did is actually we talked about the idea, and this plan hasn't been fully developed, but it's going to continue developing in that direction, to make sure that, for instance, the public park that we're proposing on the building side is going to mirror somewhat in the same type of character on the other side of the road, and that's going to lend itself to create some maybe monument sign, something marquee, something that denotes the entry point to a special place. So that's the idea. The idea is to actually start developing this thing so that the two sides work together and cohesively, and the building is just not an object thrown in there. It actually becomes part of the environment, part of the whole place. We want to create a place. That's what we want to do.
Because I think when we first saw the original drawing, it kind of looked just like a white box thrown into the middle of a park, but it was the original design, and it was just, that's what it was. So it's good. I think it's good to hear the collaboration and the steps moving forward to incorporate the building into the park to make it more, cohesive, So I think, does that answer your question, Craig?
What I'm looking for. So, I mean, that's, I think your help and, in the whole north and south part of it is important. The other component to us is just, it is a park, and we're trying to be as environmental as we possibly can. So we want to make it to, any elements that we can, LEED certified, all the good things, but thinking ahead, that's when we did many RFPs looking at different facilities at the beginning for golf, and it just would be nice to make sure we can come back and say, here are the 25 things we've done that really do the right thing.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think
Yeah.
we can look at certification for the park for sites, and then the building itself, we can look at certification for the building itself, because you don't certify a building for sites, you do it for new construction. So I think that's definitely something to look into, see how much the cost is, and because there's commissioning and energy modeling that comes with LEED certification, which does cost quite a bit. So I think it's something that we can look into worth and see if it's something that we want to do. But if it's not something that we choose not to do, if we don't want to actually get certification, we can always look at the specific credits and target certain ones if we wanted to. And of course, the commissioning process is something that I think it's something that's worthwhile doing, because it checks and makes sure the building's working how it's supposed to work and how it's designed to work, right? I mean, that's the point of commissioning. So I think it's worth looking into, and we'll see how much extra, cost that would be or whatever. But I don't know if you worked that into your fees for your building already.
Well, there's some level of commissioning in terms of LEED certification that actually goes into this anyway. Yeah.
Right. So there's the Florida Building Code commissioning, but then I think LEED is a little extra. So I don't know if that's part of what you guys already put into your fees, or.
We have been talking about that, another green possibility. So yes, we certainly are looking at not only the building that actually serves the function that it serves, but so a building that blends within the natural environment that is sitting in. It's not
suck
just
all the resources out of the earth, and
it's not just a box in there. And the facades, if you look at the previous presentation, I don't have it here with me today, but in the facades, we actually incorporated some vines growing into the facade. So it actually is going to become part of the environment.
Okay.
That's the whole idea.
Okay, cool. So go ahead, Steve.
If it's you guys' responsibility or not. But the thing that occurs to me, should the city say, well, no, we're not going to build a tunnel because we don't want to sink that kind of money into that kind of project, we're going to need traffic control devices. And my thought is on our off of the road, on the egress and entrance, I'm using the wrong words, on the entrance and exits, make it simple for myself. is there a possibility that you can put sensors in? So if there is a traffic control device, like a traffic light, people going out of the park don't have to wait 20 minutes till the light changes.
Yes, and that's part of, if the tunnel's not, then it's the part of the proper safety crossings that with the right sensors, the pushing of the buttons and the lighting and make sure all that crossing is properly correct.
What I'd also like to take up with the city, once this project, once the road project is done, or once it gets past the planning stage, is a speed limit, a reduced speed limit, maybe 20, 25 miles an hour for the entire length of the park, because otherwise, a 4-lane highway, you know, some people think 4 lanes, you know, 2 lanes in each direction means there's 1 lane where they only have to have 2 wheels on the ground. And, you know, I want to avoid that, especially because there are going to be so many kids around and just people wanting to go back and forth. As Bob said, we don't want 2 separate parks. We want it to be 1 integrated park.
Integrated. And I think that that's the best part, is that we're showing them now through the site plan that is, you know, the proposed park. They've been involved throughout the process. They know there's going to be a park. So those measures need to be considered when they're building that roadway into that study as well.
30 miles per hour over Clintmore Bridge. There's a big flashing light that says speed limit 30 miles per hour. Slow down. You're going too fast. That's going west. And I believe Second Avenue is 30 miles per hour as well, but people go over that. But maybe you'll get some insight on what they're going to do on Second Avenue too.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping, that through this process we get a bit more of insight.
Okay.
And I do kind of into the iteration of being a cohesive park. We are going to be the landscape with the team as well. So it will be cohesive on that nature as well.
That's good. One last thing, and I'm sorry, is that the squiggly line is like a trail of some kind, like a okay.
Superimposed, yeah.
That's
just-
okay, superimposed. And I guess, you know, I go under the assumption that the city will build a extension of Clintmore, Jeffrey, and whatever is connecting over the railroad tracks is gonna have to go pretty high up or go pretty low under. And so I go under the assumption that it's going up, not down.
Mhm.
And if it's going up, that trail won't connect then on either side because you're too close to the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And then it becomes kind of a, you know, we got smart kids out there who can think, well, I can use the railroad track as a nice road over to the other side. So it's a good time to bake in prevention of whatever that may be.
Yeah.
But so that they can't cross that area. at
So
all.
part of it is that we will show the future crossing for the mountain bikes as well. So that would have to go back to the safety crossing as well. We will have to reroute that. And we will have to showcase that part of the site plan to think ahead.
The thought is to create a real barrier, like a wall or, you know, corner wall there, so they
Yeah.
cannot in any way or form go on those railroad tracks.
In the future.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, there's a canal there. Isn't there a canal there?
It's a ditch. Yeah. It's a ditch.
I mean, I'm okay with having just crosswalks. I guess I'm just old school and I feel like people are smart enough to know how to cross roads and use crosswalks. And I think the more you know, I mean, yeah, a lot of regional parks are that way. And I just don't necessarily know if a tunnel is absolutely necessary. You know, especially for the expense that it would be. And I think people, especially if it's designed the way it is, and there's a railroad crossing there, people like on Hidden Valley Boulevard, people don't fly super fast. And if they know people are walking and bicycling, we're trying to make this place more bicycle and walker friendly. Let's do that as much as possible in this area. I don't know. That's my.
Yeah, I wanted to add a couple of things. Number one, Commissioner Engel, you're absolutely right. I mean, I am actually not only the architect for this project, but very much an advocate of making sure that our streets and are walkable, are places where people feel safe. So whether it's traffic calming devices or some I agree with you, the electronic ones that say you're going 45 miles an hour and you should be going 30 serve no purpose. So it's the design of the street that needs to come into effect. And I think that I will be on the other side of this project, I will be an advocate to promote the idea of making sure that the street actually becomes part of the park more than just an evacuation route, which is not. It has never been. So it's going to be a connection, good connection, yes, but it's not one that the fire department needs to get access to the east. They come through Yamato Road. So on that point, I will be really making sure that we design or they design a street that is safe. The sidewalks are to be adequate and speed bumps or maybe a circle at the Second and Clintmore, something that slows people down so that they don't take this as a highway. So I'm for that. And I'm speaking out of the project here. I'm actually just as a citizen of Boca. On the other side of that, I'm also the architect for the Brightline station. So they actually do have measures to make sure that these crossings, even though they have had incidents, many of them have been because people don't pay attention to what they're doing, but they come in with safety features to make sure that there are fences provided at certain distances from the crossings. So all of that is going to be part of what the city is going to have to deal with Brightline to make sure that this crossing that is new becomes a safe crossing, because there are kids living on the east side of this thing that are going to be crossing that to go to the park. So anyways, I just wanted to add that 2 cents worth.
Anybody else, Bob?
Just because the gentleman was here talking about the security on the west side of the park, would you let us know again how you intend to prevent, transiting back and forth between the neighborhood and the park itself?
Well, it is in the plans. It's proposed. It's going to be a fence and then a buffer of landscape. So there is a good 15 feet of a buffer of landscape, all heavily vegetated with tree canopies, bed shrubs, and the fence as well.
Thank you. Yeah. And Aaron, if the city of Boca, or if we want to put a radar system down at the bottom of that hill on Clintmore, I think we could pick up quite a few because I'm transiting there.
Nope. Yes. Craig.
This is all fine. I guess if we're talking about the North Park East and South, the only piece that's not addressed is the former hotel site. And my question to this committee is, are we at some point going to do something with it, or is this the end of the discussion on the whole east side?
I didn't have that piece of property in our scope at this point. I was focusing on getting the trails in, getting the racket facility sorted with the Butters Group, getting the dog park and the trails on the north side done. I didn't really have that piece of property even in my thought yet at this point, just because things with the city are so
I
difficult.
understand it's slow and long on the whole thing, but I'm afraid that if we don't do something with that, nothing will happen. And so the first question to us to think about, and we don't have to answer it now, is do you want to make it commercial or you want to go non-commercial with it? And if it's non-commercial, that's fine. Commercial, the only reason I'm saying this is because this is the only area that has some level of infrastructure, and it's an opportunity to go out to an RFP or RFI to let people tell us how and what they would do with that corner. If we move on and start going on to other things, we're working on this side. This is really the time to at least put it out there and do something with it. I think it would be a shame to just kind of move on to the west side. We're in this whole side, be done with it and decide what you're going to do or get your ideas out there of what that is. So I would propose putting out that 3 acre or 4 acre site, whatever it is, to some kind of request for proposals or information, and see what we get.
It's sodded right now. I'm okay with keeping it green space for the time being, but that's my personal opinion.
If I'm not mistaken, once the hotel went away, the zoning for the hotel went with it. So we'd have to redo the whole process of getting the property rezoned to put in a hotel. Also important is input from the people that live around North Park. Do they want a hotel and the traffic it brings? I mean, if you guys say to us, well, yeah, we think it's a good idea, then as the saying goes, the people have spoken and it's worthwhile pursuing. But I would get neighborhood input before I did anything else. Find out what the neighbors want, what the residents want, and see if this is worthwhile pursuing. And then also take a look at what it would take to get this property rezoned again so that a hotel could be built on it. I'm not ruling out a hotel. I'm just saying that we should need to follow a process here.
Is that what you're saying? You want to put a hotel there?
Do I want to put a hotel there?
Yeah.
Speaking for
Just
myself?
because there was a hotel there before, doesn't
Yeah,
mean we have to put a
no,
hotel there now.
speaking for myself, if I was a resident of that area, I wouldn't want one. Okay, but I'm not a resident of that area, and I think that their input is important. And if the people in Boca Chica tell us, no, we don't want a hotel there, and I think that should be the end of the discussion of the subject. If they say they do, and that's something that's worthwhile to them, then maybe we pursue it. For myself, like I said, if I was living in Boca Chica, I wouldn't want a hotel there. I wouldn't want the traffic or.
We did the questionnaire that we put out, and we got a bunch of responses back from Boca Chica, and we had a whole list of everything. But honestly, I mean, this is all the residents. This is not Boca Chica's property. This is
Right.
city. This is our property that belongs to all the taxpayers. So us putting that question out there to Boca Chica people, I don't think
Well-
we should be doing that.
Well, the reason I'm saying we need their input is because they're the ones that are going to be most affected by it.
Well, true, but they're not the ones making the decision on,
No, that's us.
right? I mean,
But I think I think their input is important because I know for myself, if they decided to put up a hotel across the street from where I live, I'd be really annoyed because that would mean 4 or 5 times the traffic and the noise and everything else that went with it. And I wouldn't want that. I'm assuming that the residents of Boca Chica wouldn't want something like that either, based on what the discussions that we've had. But since the effect of the hotel is going to be focused on them, I think we should at least hear from them. Doesn't necessarily mean you're right. It doesn't mean that they have to have the final say, but I think their input is important.
we're even at that point yet. I
Oh,
think
no, we're not.
he's saying that, are we going to move forward with something commercial? If we are, we need to put it out and see what ideas come back.
Yeah, no, I agree with
That's
you.
what
I
he's
think we
saying,
need
right?
to,
So,
follow the
In
process.
the end, is that something we want to do? Is that something we want to move forward at this point with everything else we have on our plate? Do we want to move forward with that little piece of property and see what we're going to do with it? I think
The thought process is if you're commercial, going down the path of commercial, you're gonna offset the cost of building the park. Because if not, and that reduces taxpayer expense. So this is the time to do it. If not, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Actually, I think the least path of resistance, and by the way, the land use zoning is all whoever works on that piece of property. It has to be, a lot of work has to be done, no question. It's not for us to do, it's for a third party to do. So the least path of resistance in my mind is, I'm all for supporting volunteers and put it out there. Or someone who wants to do a nonprofit, you can divide it up into 2 parts. That's your section to do something on it and see what you get back. That
Once you get the genie out of the bottle, it's hard to put them back in there. But it seems to me that we need to, if we do anything with that, it should be contiguous to what we have in the park, whether it's just open space. I would say to our architect on this project, you see a lot of parks. This is a nice parcel. What could we do to enhance the value of that and make it fit in with our park? And that way, there's, I don't know that we're going to get something there that will give us a revenue stream that we would like. At one point, I thought it was a good idea, but I think now it needs to fit in with the overall concept of the park. And if there's something we can do there to landscape it and berm it and put in pavilion or something, so where it could be a place for after you've walked Second Avenue with your dog or ridden your bicycle into Hidden Valley, you can pull inside there, have a shade and sit and relax. And maybe that's something that the most we should do with it, my feeling. So
I'm a little confused, Craig, because you said the hotel parcel, but were you talking specifically hotel?
Never specifically hotel. It was a commercial property. The hotel was the revenue generator of the site. So I just refer to it as the hotel site, but I define it as, you want to put an apartment building there and pay for everything, so be it. But that is complicated.
We went into this for recreational purposes, and the more recreation that we can provide for the community, I agree that, it would be nice to save the taxpayers some dollars, but I think basically I drove through there this morning at 7:00 and it was beautifully green. It was quiet. It would be nice to see people on walking trails or biking trails. The more recreation we can provide, I think, is the best avenue.
Maybe there's some sort of recreational nonprofit that would be interested in a piece of property like that would fit something into, that would kind of blend into the park. Some sort of, I don't know. I don't know what things you're thinking of.
I just want us to talk it through and not forget about it. So what I'm hearing is, okay, no hotel or commercial, which is fine. So then it's non-commercial or park. So non-commercial being nonprofit or park. Is that what we're saying? You want to just turn that corner into another component of the park and define it? That's an option. I would rather get it out of the way. What I'm trying to say, though, is by doing that, that is your last infrastructure built out area that already has, plumbing, piping, everything ready to go because the hotel site was there. And so, my recommendation would be get an RFI out there for a nonprofit to do something that is family friendly. This is the last of the family friendly part all put together, and see what you get.
You say the infrastructure is there. Do you remember how old that is and what kind of condition that probably is in compared to, what code would require now and what the expense would be to bring it up to code? So that having the infrastructure there, you're going back into when was that built, Brianne, the hotel? 60s?
For my time.
So I just don't think that is something that we need to really base our final decision on, is that there's infrastructure. It's going to need a lot of expense to bring it up to code.
Susie, let's ask one of the experts who are here. Does it make a difference if you're building on the east side or the west side of Second Avenue, where there was a hotel site on that upper corner, but we're going to work on the west side at some point.
Yeah, there's water and sewer existing along Second Avenue, and there's going to be along Clintmore also. So if the infrastructure is there to support the site, you're not going to reuse the old connections from the hotel if you don't want to. Maybe we can't, but again, it's easy enough to provide service to that site.
Craig, my question to you. So I would be okay with that idea about putting an RFI out just to see what comes back in terms of here's what we have, right? And we have this other little piece. What could you do there that is family friendly that would blend into our park. So how would you write it? Like, how would you word it? So, cause like, I feel like we put the RFP out for the racket facility and they came back with like things that like people didn't like, right? I like some of them, but a lot of people didn't like what came back, right? So we have to make sure that we're, I
What-
guess, wording it how.
We're talking about an RFI, which is a little more broad, and nobody's going to be giving actual proposals. It's more request for information, so it's idea generating.
Okay.
It's ideas of what they would put out there, and it could be a very vague, very broad.
But we also want
written
it to
scope.
be something maybe
Those
not
are those are your things,
commercial,
yeah.
right?
Nonprofit, recreation, family friendly. Those are.
And then if we don't like anything, we don't have to do anything there.
One thing we should keep in mind, I still have nightmares about the science playground and how many times we had to make changes because there were utility issues and plumbing issues that we weren't aware of because we didn't have the right information or that it was out of date. And this could very well happen here. I mean, if we want to put out an RFI, as long as we do it the right way, that's fine. But bear in mind that this stuff is all underground. And as Susie said, we don't know what kind of condition it's in. We don't know if it meets code. We have no idea. And to start digging this stuff up just to find out, is the juice worth the squeeze?
In the water capacity at that site, just for the purposes of this. So there are some things that are still in place.
I'll make a motion to RFI the former hotel site at Boca Chica with a with the concept being, Brianne will probably use ChatGPT to define a family-friendly works connectivity with the existing park that we have designed. Anything I should add? Approximately 3 to 4 acres. Whatever is left, the gray area.
I'm going to bring it back to a meeting for you all to
And
review.
the residences are, on either side and all that kind of stuff, that's part of it. And I think that's okay. I mean, we'll see what we get back and it doesn't hurt anything doing it, right? So do we have a second? I'll second it. Okay. Can we have a vote on this, guys? Yes.
If you will, you're in a topic which is allied with the subject matter of this discussion. You're talking about North Park and you're talking about a sidebar discussion for another parcel that's not yet contemplated by this plan per se. So your motion is not incompatible with the reason for meeting this evening, but as a matter of law, should there be a comment from the public with regard to your motion if it's adopted, public has a right to be heard on this.
So should we open up the public comment after the meeting?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to make sure that there's no displacement because the item is not specifically on the agenda, but it is legally allied with item number 2, in my opinion, legally.
Excuse me, could you read the motion, Craig's motion again, please?
Family friendly, work, make sure that it works with connectivity with existing spots that we.
And the community. Can we say compatibility with rather than connectivity or compatibility and connectivity? Is that okay? Friendly amendment? Okay.
And just to be clear, you're talking about request for letters of interest, correct? Yes, which is our ally, but you're allied with that subject too. So you're looking for a request for letters of interest. And that is as described by Brian, that's a lesser of any number of different types of proposals you could ask for on the street. It's not an RFP, it's not a bid. It is something which simply opens the door for discussion.
As long as there's no commitment on our part,
None.
we're all set.
And let the record reflect that in the event that you get proposals back, if they're letters of interest, they are not legally binding unless you accept them and negotiate further. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Commissioner Ernst?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel? Yes. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, so are we,
And for the record, there are no public comments on the subject.
oh, well, no, we have to open it up, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll open up to public comment if anybody has anything.
Still Celebrity 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. Second Avenue is 2 lanes and it's not a master plan. There's a bunch of condominiums. They're all different associations, and the architects of Boca Chica specifically put 14 banyan trees in the middle of the street. So that street would never, ever be widened. And there was a deed restriction for the golf club, which we all paid for, in a matter of speaking, because we paid dues for 30 years. Probably approximately, I think we went over the math one time, it was around $1 million per association. As far as putting another structure there, I really think you need to know that the traffic on Second Avenue already is a lot because they've developed a little north going towards Hidden Valley. And now when you get to Hidden Valley and you make a right and you go towards Publix, there's a whole nother structure going up right now as we speak. The traffic is really something you got to take into consideration because there's 50-year-old banyan trees that's not going to fly with. I know I'm going to be a one-man army as far as taking those trees out. Those trees aren't going to come out that easily without a lot of protests. So you can't just widen that street. So when you talk about doing anything, even family friendly, if it's not green space or green related, and you're talking about getting another structure, I mean, I've been to Brian's place. It's beautiful. I don't see a YMCA being there because of the traffic. I see it being maybe a Patrice. It's a great place. I think it should be in Boca. But I don't know about North Park. I don't know about any other thing because you're also talking about doing the golf on the other side. And if you do the golf, you're going to need some kinds of structures there. So to open it up to another entity of some kind, family friendly, I think you just really still got to consider the traffic and the parking and the access to it, because Yamato Road is fine, but getting in and out of there, it's going to be trouble. And so I want you to take a lot of consideration into, I can't get out of the parking lot now. It takes time. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thanks.
Thanks. And keep in mind, I do ride on that road every single day, so I'm well aware of the traffic and everything. I think what we're more thinking of is kind of like a low impact type of thing that we're thinking of. I don't think we're going to be putting in a 4-story structure or anything like that. That's, for families. I mean, when we say family, you know what we mean. So go ahead.
Hello, Robert Duquette, 5351 Northwest 3rd Terrace. Steve, I want to thank you for your input on this. And want to thank, obviously, Sil for his input. Something that Sil has pointed out in the past is this perception that the people in Boca Chica used to own the golf course, I think, and they let it be sold. And that was the whole problem that where we're at right now. But I think that you have to realize that it was a 30-year recreational lease. And the hotel site was not just hotel. Half of that property was actually a community center, because most of the condos that were built there don't have rooms for meetings or anything. Most of them are strictly condos. And so there was a large room there that was not connected to the hotel use. It was for meetings, whether it be movies, social events. There were multiple card rooms. There was a library. There was there was an art room there. So there was a lot of different things that served the community and are obviously no longer there, but are certainly needed. I know our homeowners association has to go either downtown to Boca's Community Center or over to the library to have a place to have a meeting. So if you're going to have something there, a community center would be good so that people could actually go there in the community and actually use it for the intended purpose when it first started. As far as a hotel, this was built in like 1960, and there's been over 1,000 hotel rooms built within 3 miles of this location since that time. Most of them obviously at the interchanges there at the Yamato and Congress Avenue. So I think that while I think Steve was also accurate that it lost the zoning, if you were to do something that was not friendly to the immediate area, you could expect 20 times the people that you have here today going to planning and zoning meeting if in fact it was not compatible. So again, something that's compatible, community center, maybe even a gymnasium that can be tied in with the community center. Could be YMCA, you know, there are other alternatives, I'm sure, but it is a pretty small site and parking and traffic would be important. Thank you.
Do I have to give my name? Harold Chaffee, 61 Northwest Second Avenue, Oakdale. I think you're very smart about talking about this piece of property, because what you're doing now is you're developing the whole thing and you're gonna leave something mythical. What are we gonna do with it later, which may not even comply with what you have? We need to talk about this. I don't agree with a hotel at all, because the area doesn't warrant it. It's a residential area. It would be nice if we all talked about field houses, and field house, like I said, we need something that's flexible. People talk about playing soccer, they play foosball, they want to play tennis, whatever they want to play. A lot of this, even this pickleball building that they're building, is only for one purpose. That's it. Never be used for anything else. And we talked about, many people complain about not having spaces to play their sport that they like, and we don't know what's even coming up. And the other thing too is we have to look to the future. Look how much buildings coming on here. You're worried about so much green space. You have green space, but green space is not going to come out of the woods. It's either now or never. Either hold on to this property and use this green space in some place and maybe bank it for later on what you want to do with it, but basically not give it away. I mean, there are so many people coming into Boca now. You're not really looking at the future of what the hell it's going to really be. There won't be any parks. There won't be any land. Everything's going to be scooped up, and there's going to be high rises built on it, and low income housing and whatever else. I think you really need to take a look at the future. But like everybody said, Second Avenue is a horrible road. And as far as crossing, I mean, I go over the Clintmore Bridge. I call it the ski slope, because people 60 miles an hour, they're going over that bridge. And I think they're going to burn out the bulb on that device that says how fast you're going. I think they use it to make sure the speedometer is correct. It's just a waste. And people now with the buds in their ears, they don't pay attention to where they're walking or going. When that golf course was functional, that intersection with Clintmore and Second Avenue was so dangerous. It was incredible. Now you're adding on more traffic. You can make a right-hand turn on a red light. I don't know how you're going to control people crossing that road. I really don't know. Even on if they continue Jeffrey through, which I don't know whether they're ever going to be able to do it. I mean, to go over the railroad, you're not talking about 14 feet. You're probably talking about 20 something feet on the railroad. Yeah, you'll be in the river, I think, in the intercoastal before you come down. And to go under that is ridiculous. You'd hit water. You must have a swimming pool there. But anyway, I think that you need to basically go back. You need to find out somebody has a better idea. I mean, I'd like to see the YMCA there, but I don't think the property is big enough. But a field house, I think they could do a field house. Something needs to be done. You need a recreational place that's flexible, for what's coming. All right, thank you.
Angelo Sands, 7348 East Country Club Boulevard. One thing, somebody here mentioned something about speed bumps. Good luck. The city won't hear it, they're out of the city, that. I think what you're doing is the smart move. Find out what's available, and then when you have some options, put it out there. And the one thing you do know, the residents of Boca Chica will let you know. Okay. They're great. They're great. So you never have to worry about, well, I wonder what they're thinking in Boca Chica. They'll tell you. But no, I think what you're doing is the right thing to do. You see what's available, see what best fits the community, and go from there. I think it's a great idea.
Anybody else?
Jeff Work, 6210 Woodbury Road, Boca Raton. I mostly came because I really appreciate Greater Boca Raton Beach and Parks District, everything you've done since 1974. And it has accomplished something that I think can never be overstated for the town. And that you're thinking toward the future, you're visionary, ideas about what you want to do with the most important asset, the real estate assets that you have is priceless. And so I appreciate all the dialogue, everything that's been here. I do think, just not to say much of anything relative to this, is that there are certain activities at both Hidden Valley and at Yamato which create movement along the corridor of the roadway that is not just north-south, but east-west. And so so probably in this case, there's going to be, if you think about it, a likelihood that they won't be that much different when we create this road has not been completed for a long time. This is a very futuristic thought process, which is now uninterrupted between Yamato and Hidden Valley. And so you have a beautiful piece of park development that will be accessible not just north-south, but east-west. And you will have an image that's all part of this interconnectivity. So just the corridor itself is a very interesting thing to think about. And what you do with the rest of the real estate obviously is going to be priceless in another 40 years. So I think it's great that you're taking time to think about it and that you're thinking about the big picture. And I just wanted to say thanks for everything that you do all the time.
Yeah. Nice to have a comment like that tonight. Okay, so we'll close public comment if everybody's all set. We'll go on to number 2, the Patrick Park Playground renovations.
Commissioners, tonight I'm going to run through where we're at with the playground, the Patrick Playground renovations. We've met with the Ogden family. We've met with other people in the community who had input, including our special needs coordinator over at the YMCA, who brings groups out to Patrick. I'll just wait a few minutes. Not like a few minutes, but a minute.
30 seconds.
Grazie, grazie. Is it on the thing though? Okay. So we've met with everybody that was part of this group of people coordinating to have input on the design. We feel like we're in a good place now. We're ready to go forward with the city process. But before we do that, I wanted to get a vote tonight to make sure everybody was good to move forward with this plan. So here is a very quick run through of the new Patrick Park Playground design. So this is what you're looking at now is the old playground, and you could see it's outdated and it's time for renovations. Obviously, we'll make this all accessible. So this is how the new playground will look. I'm gonna try this. This is the main play area over here. We're gonna have bank shot basketball up top. The splash pad will be completely changed and expanded. We'll go into more of these things in more detail as we move forward. And over here, where currently there's like some climbing equipment and useless things like that, that you're terrified your kid is gonna need stitches on when they're done. This is gonna be more of a quiet space and some equipment over there for kids who need to decompress a little bit while they're out there. So vision was important for parents and for caregivers to have a site throughout the park. Obviously, this playground is full of trees, and we're not moving any of the trees or anything like that, but we created sight lines throughout the playground so that there was a better sight on everything than there currently is. Everything is going to be covered. We'll have shade coverage on everything, although on this far side over here, I'm gonna try this again. This is mostly covered with trees. And if you've been there recently, you know it's pretty shady. This is the shadiest part, and this is where everybody likes to hang out because there's no sun. But everything else will be covered. This is kind of a visual of what it would look like if we were to, say, fly a drone over top. Out in the parking area, we're just adding some ADA spots and a spot for a bus or van to pull up and drop off kids. This is another view of what it would be like from the parking lot area. The restroom renovations, we're going to completely renovate the current restroom that's out there would come down. This would be a new structure, and it would have family style restrooms and then one completely accessible with a changing table for even an adult size person. This is kind of the view of the restroom facility. We're going to be working with hopefully a local artist to kind of put a mural on this that will send the message that this playground is for everybody. It's for everybody with all different abilities. So we hope to work with that Art in Public Places moving forward to make sure that when people approach this playground, it's very apparent that this is a place where everybody belongs. And then this is just another overview of this side. We're going to show some pictures of some of the equipment. This is kind of the labeling of where that equipment is. Within the turf, it'll be artificial turf. You'll see these interactive turf areas, hopscotch, tic-tac-toe, twister. So kids can also just play games and kind of take the lead and have those activities outside. This is a view of some of the equipment. All the equipment will be coordinated color-wise. We've kind of plugged in just samples of the equipment here, but it will all be color coordinated. One of the new structures that is out here that will be really fun. This actually, you can climb in it, you can spin in it. It's accessible for everybody. So that will be a fun feature when you first approach the playground. This is more of a toddler area, and there's also some little, for smaller kids who need to take a little break, they can crawl in here and just have some quiet time. Another look at some of the equipment. This is the bank shot basketball, which we talked about at the previous meeting. This is a very accessible way to learn to play basketball and have fun with friends without having the competition of a sport. Kids with any abilities can come up, throw the ball. You have little, in front of each hoop is a 3-2-1, so you can keep score if you want, you cannot keep score. And all the hoops can be lowered to certain heights so that it's good for all the kids of different ages. Here's some of the equipment that we were showing in the plans. This is that ball that I was talking about that kids can climb in and it will spin. So it's a pretty large structure that will be at the entrance of the park. The rest of it is other things that will be out there. This is sort of I don't know if anybody's been to the Barrier Free Park in Boynton. Also Scotty's Place has this out in Wellington, but this is an accessible, it's almost like a boat that rocks, so you get that sensory movement while you're up there. There's some other features that will be out there. We'll have some sound features, slides. A lot of the slides will be built in with mounds, so kids will climb the mounds to get down the slide. There's some more slides. We're going to have a roller slide, which is great because it prevents static electricity, which is helpful for kids with cochlear implants and things like that. You don't like the roller slide? Oh, I thought you did. Oh, yeah, well, that one doesn't cause it. So there you go. You can go down that one. Here's some example of some of the swings we're going to have out there. Again, this is the quiet area. So this is labeled. You can see we preserved the rocks, the boulders that are in the current playground now. Those will be preserved and placed here in this area. There's picnic areas over here. Swings, some climbing structures here. And again, most of that is shaded by the trees that are out there. Here's an example of that equipment that you just saw on the previous slide. You can climb through, you can crawl through, and climb on top. Here's some pictures of how the swings will look. We're going to have accessible swings, the parent or caregiver and child can ride together type of swings. We'll have the disc swing as well, and then regular bench band swings. So here's some examples of those equipment. Those are the boulders down on the bottom that are currently out there now. Bank shot basketball, another shot of that and how it looks. This is the renovated splash pad. Just a reminder that our splash pad has no electrical components to it, so it's just water powered. All the equipment will be, well, you can't see it as well there, but here's the video which we saw before. And I don't know if it's gonna play. I don't know, are you able to click on it? Edit. It's the same video we saw the last time. Nothing's changed on the video. Yeah. Okay. Here's the equipment that's going to be on that splash pad. A lot of it is interactive. You can stand under it, you can approach it, you can play with it. Some kids like to bring little toys, so they'll be able to use some of those toys and watch them cascade down some of these different pieces here, run through these things, stand under things, and have a lot of fun out there. And so that is the playground in a nutshell. And that's where we're at. We'd like to start the process of going and talking to the city. In fact, WZA scheduled a meeting for them. So we can then move forward with our bid documents based on any changes the city has and get it out to bid and get it built. I'm sorry, yes, we're adding a fence. There's a lot of, one thing I didn't talk about, I guess I better go back and talk about that real quick. The entire thing will be fenced in. There'll be a fence that you can access the restrooms from the basketball side and without having to come into the playground. So there'll be a way to access that too. Around all of your trees are going to be seating. And you could see some of the benches in here. There will be accessible benches and tables. There will be covered little areas over here for people to picnic at. And the same goes for the other side of the playground as well. I put the wrong contacts in this morning, so I'm having a hard time seeing everything. And I'm trying to like fake it here, but yeah. So the dotted lines are around the trees. You'll have all the seating, and that will be shaded seating as well. And then out over on this side is additional picnic areas for people to have. So there's a lot more seating that will be out there than there is currently. Okay, I think that's everything. Unless I missed other things that I can't see.
Comments or discussion?
Congratulations, Brianne. That was really well done. That's well laid out, and appreciate your highlighting those features. I know that it's going to get a lot of use from a lot of different individuals. One question or one suggestion is when we have storms, we take down the screens on tennis courts. Make sure you do the same. Put that in because these sails will sail away. And if they're easily detachable, which I suspect they probably are, be easy to do that. So that way we can put the park back in action real quickly after the weather goes away. Okay.
Brianne, job well done. This is great. And I know a lot of the interested parties got the opportunity for input. So I think we really have a winner here. I think this is going to be something that people will come to from all over, not just from Palm Beach County, not just from Boca Raton. But again, job well done. And I look forward to the time when we have a ribbon cutting, and I hope it's soon.
I think the Augments who attended every meeting and had a lot of input. Allison Reeves, who is the special needs coordinator of the YMCA, had a lot of input too, as far as her experience bringing groups of kids. So I don't want to take all the credit. I want to say that we had a lot of different people with some input as well. So, and Melissa sat in all those meetings as well. So it was a group effort.
a motion that we go forward for bidding for the park at the children's playground at Patchogue Park.
Correct, correct. Commissioner, to authorize them to direct. In the motion.
Commissioner Ernst?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang? Yes. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to number 3, 2024 district board meeting schedule.
Commissioners, in your agenda packets on page 7 is a schedule that Ms. Miller has put together for our meetings next year. Very status quo. If anybody has any conflicts, now would be a good time to mention them. Otherwise, we just want to look at a motion to adopt this schedule.
Go ahead.
Confident I'll be out of town August the 5th. That's usually the time I take vacation. Right. Yep. So, I mean, and I could probably zoom in, but I just will not be physically present. But if I do, am absent, I will be able to zoom in, but just to let you know.
July 15th. So
What about, for you, Aaron, in March, when is the public school, school break? You're here, okay, I think it's falling on the 18th of March. Just a note to self that I'm not exactly sure, but I think. So, I mean, and the other thing I guess I would like to add to the schedule is the dates you need for us to do the tax, hearing, if that's, then we're just gonna do it, double it up at the same meeting night, I assume.
We can't schedule them right. We can't schedule them yet. We have to do resolutions to schedule those.
Right, but kind of, targeting a date. is what I'm
Nobody go
saying.
away in September.
Yeah.
Question for Bob. Would you be more comfortable if we moved August 5th to August 12th? Okay. All right. And Aaron, you're good for the 15th of July? I make a motion to accept the schedule for 2024 as laid out in the agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Ernst? Commissioner Engel? Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright? Motion passes.
okay, moving on to approval of payroll and invoices. Commissioner Ernst.
For approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $1,788,304.31.
Okay. Joanne?
Ernst? Commissioner Engel? Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright? Motion passes.
Reports and discussion items.
Commissioners, just a reminder, the bids for the pickleball complex at Patch are due December 1st. The carousel repairs that we've been waiting on for what feels like forever are done. We're just waiting on the state inspection to be scheduled. Once that's done, I'll send an email out when the carousel reopens, and we'll put it on our social media as well. The Gumbo Limbo Tower project and the DeHornley Maintenance Facility are both progressing well, so those are good things to see. I want to thank Chuck for taking photos of the tower and sharing that with us, so I could send that out to everybody because it's nice to see that that's going along. I met with city event staff for the to start brainstorming some ideas to celebrate our 50th anniversary. So we'll have some more stuff to talk about at a future meeting on that one. Our trim process was certified, so we're done with that whole process. And then I just wanted to wish Mr. Gorin a happy belated birthday and Mr. Engel happy birthday tomorrow. And that's all I have.
Okay, legal counsel, do you have anything?
Just as a reminder, you may remember that the legislature this past session passed a bill which was referenced as, let's see, it was codified as 2023 121 that requires ethics training. It was the committee substitute for House Bill 199. As of January 1 of 2024, you're required to have 4 hours of ethics training, which includes a review of the constitutional provisions of Article 2, Section 8 of the Constitution, sunshine, public records, and Chapter 112 ethics. Jake and I are prepared to present that to you and provide that to you. It's a 4-hour obligation during the year of 2024, beginning in January. There are other places you can go to get it. However, we're gifted enough to be able to provide it to you and give it to you at your convenience as well. And we began having that conversation with Brianne in recent days, but you can do it at a workshop setting when you're all available, or you can do 1 hour at a time, whatever you prefer to do to give you the comfort of getting the 4 hours of credit, which we can provide to you, and then appropriately certify that to the state, which is also required during the beginning of the year, beginning in 2024. We would welcome the opportunity of having that discussion with you as well, particularly as the laws change, and they have changed from time to time regarding public records and sunshine.
Handbook of some kind. Could you provide that to us ahead of time so that we could?
We would. When we provide it, we would update it. We would tailor it to the needs of this organization. As an independent state agency, which is what you are, independent special taxing district, you will fill in that specific category in that bill, and we certainly would welcome the opportunity to spend some time with you on the law and update you accordingly. It'll be relatively painless. It'll be somewhat boring. I must tell you that just as a matter of presentation, that the subject matter is not particularly exciting, but it's extremely important to all of you in the context of what you do, not just on the dais when you go home, and when you're in Publix, and when you're out on the road, and you're with your colleagues, or when things occur that require your thoughtfulness, which I know you are ever so thoughtful, and I say that because it's true, and I welcome that chance to give you that presentation with Jake and I at some future moment.
And Jake should get dressed up in costumes
We
and
can.
have strobe lights.
We'll
That'd be
hap-
more fun.
Whatever it takes, we're happy to present it that way. Thank you for
Uh,
listening, and welcome back, Commissioner Rollins. Nice to have you back physically. We missed you. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, Steve?
Brianne, thank you for the birthday wishes. I am so gratified to see the renovations for Patch Reef going ahead. This is like, Chuck, there's my accomplishment. This really means a lot to me. So, Brianne, thank you. Members of the commission, thank you. And I'm still 73 for another day.
This past cycle, I guess we call it, I did go out and see the sugar sand roller hockey and what they put down for it's really a sport court. So I visualized it better. And the concern around that, which kind of expedited the need for a cover, was from the roller hockey's perspective, when you put the plastic sport court down over everything, it collects water and it doesn't drain as fast. So if we don't do it this year, but next year, we need to put it in our budget to put some kind of cover structure and continue with the shades and covers wherever we can. And I think it would really make it more of a useful court down the road. So that's it. Thank you very much. I also had one last thing is I had the opportunity to talk to the folks with Melissa and the Patch Reef Pickleball Center, and I think they really are on their game with the design coming up. It'll be very impressive. And so it is kind of connected between the tennis and the pickleball center at Patch Reef specifically, but I really do think that's a tremendous facility, and they're different than what's out at Boca Chica, and so I do think we need to push forward to get that done, and it's pretty far along. Let's keep on going with it.
What about pickleball? We had a member in the audience speak to us, Jeff Borak. Jeff, you worked with the city for how long? Yeah, so I worked with Jeff, and were you in Mickey's department? or engineering? Yeah, Jeff's seen the development of our parks in the community, and he also has residence in North Carolina, which I envy him for that, especially in these summer months. But Jeff, thanks for coming by, and appreciate your kind words about the parks and what the commission has done. And we appreciated all the work you did for us when I was on the Parks and Rec board and interfacing with you as a commissioner too in the years past. So come back and see us again. And I have nothing else to say, Madam Chair.
Susie?
Birthday gentlemen. I have nothing else.
Your birthday? Probably don't want to remind that it's your birthday because, you know, as you get older, I don't even like to remember mine. So, thank you. I have nothing tonight, so.
To adjourn.
Oh, sorry.
Commissioner Ernst? Commissioner Engel? Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright?